Hello everyone, and today we're looking at one of the strangest off-road vehicles ever created. A machine that looked like a tractor, pulled artillery like a military truck, crossed terrain like a tracked vehicle, and confused almost everyone who saw it for the first time. This is the Pavesi family of articulated tractors, a series of remarkable machines developed by Italian engineer Ugo Pavesi during the 1920s and 1930s. Models such as the P4, P4M, P4S, and P4-100 became famous throughout Europe for one simple reason: they could travel where roads didn't exist. Looking at one today, it's easy to understand why people still stop and stare. With its giant steel wheels, narrow body, exposed mechanical components, and unusual proportions, it looks more like a machine designed for crossing another planet than a military vehicle from the early 20th century. The story begins shortly after the First World War. During the conflict, armies learned a painful lesson. Moving artillery across rough terrain was often more difficult than fighting the battle itself. Horses became exhausted, trucks became stuck, and valuable guns frequently arrived too late to make a difference. Ugo Pavesi believed there had to be a better solution. Instead of improving existing trucks, he started from scratch. His idea was radical for the time. Rather than building a rigid vehicle with conventional steering, he designed an articulated machine consisting of two sections connected by a large central joint. This allowed the front and rear halves of the vehicle to move independently over rough terrain. The result was the Pavesi P4, introduced in 1923. While most military vehicles of the period struggled on rough ground, the P4 seemed to crawl over obstacles almost effortlessly. It quickly gained attention from military observers throughout Europe who were searching for new ways to improve mobility. The most remarkable feature of every Pavesi tractor was its articulated frame. Modern construction equipment often uses articulated steering, but during the 1920s the concept was almost revolutionary. Instead of steering solely with the front wheels, the entire vehicle effectively bent in the middle while also using steering wheels. This allowed it to maintain traction on uneven terrain where ordinary vehicles would lose contact with the ground. Watching a Pavesi move across a ditch or rocky slope is a fascinating sight. The front half rises over an obstacle while the rear section follows independently, almost like two separate vehicles working together. This design dramatically improves stability and traction, making the machine incredibly effective in difficult conditions. Military demonstrations often left spectators amazed because the Pavesi could climb slopes, cross trenches, and traverse mud that stopped conventional trucks completely. Then there were the wheels. If the articulated chassis wasn't strange enough, Pavesi equipped many early models with enormous steel wheels fitted with aggressive traction lugs. These wheels looked more appropriate for a steam tractor than a military vehicle. Yet they served a very practical purpose. In muddy fields, loose soil, and rough terrain, the large steel cleats dug into the ground and generated impressive grip. Combined with four-wheel drive, the vehicle could continue moving when other machines became hopelessly stuck. Some military reports from the period claimed the Pavesi could cross trenches wider than many contemporary trucks could even approach. The huge wheels also contributed to the vehicle's intimidating appearance. Even today, seeing one of these tractors in person feels like stepping into an alternate timeline where military vehicles evolved differently from the machines we know today. Although all members of the Pavesi family shared the same basic philosophy, several important variants appeared over the years. The original P4 established the concept and proved that articulated off-road vehicles had military potential. The improved P4M introduced stronger components and refinements aimed specifically at military service. The P4S followed with additional upgrades and became one of the most recognizable versions. Later came the P4-100, perhaps the most developed member of the family. These machines generally measured around 13.8 feet in length, 6.2 feet in width, and stood approximately 7.2 feet tall. Depending on the variant, weight ranged from roughly 7,500 to 8,800 pounds. While these dimensions may seem modest today, they represented substantial machines for the period, especially considering their remarkable towing capabilities and off-road performance. Power came from a series of 4-cylinder gasoline engines that evolved as the design matured. Early P4 tractors typically produced around 45 horsepower, while later versions such as the P4M and P4S developed approximately 57 horsepower. Those figures may not sound impressive to modern audiences, but horsepower tells only part of the story. What mattered was torque and traction. The engines were specifically tuned to provide pulling power at low speeds, allowing the tractors to haul artillery pieces weighing several tons across terrain where ordinary trucks struggled. Top speed varied depending on the model, but generally ranged between 12 and 18 miles per hour. That may sound slow, yet speed was never the objective. These vehicles were designed to keep moving under conditions that stopped everything else. In military service, reliability and mobility often mattered far more than velocity. The Italian army quickly recognized the value of the design and became one of its largest operators. Throughout the 1920s and 1930s, Pavesi tractors were used to tow artillery pieces, engineering equipment, ammunition trailers, and supplies. Crews appreciated the vehicle's ability to reach positions inaccessible to conventional trucks. During exercises, Pavesi tractors frequently demonstrated capabilities that seemed almost impossible for wheeled vehicles of the era. The machines climbed steep slopes, crossed rough agricultural terrain, and operated in areas where military planners normally expected to use tracked vehicles. As tensions grew across Europe during the 1930s, the demand for reliable artillery tractors increased dramatically, ensuring continued development of the Pavesi family. Success in Italy attracted attention abroad. Several nations either purchased Pavesi tractors or built them under license. One of the most notable examples was the Armstrong Siddeley Pavesi produced in Britain. Other countries, including Hungary, Greece, Spain, Germany, and Sweden, also evaluated or operated these unusual machines. The fact that so many militaries showed interest is remarkable when you consider how unconventional the design appeared. Military procurement officials are rarely enthusiastic about radical concepts, yet the Pavesi consistently impressed observers during demonstrations. Its ability to go where other vehicles could not often outweigh concerns about its unusual appearance or mechanical complexity. The influence of the Pavesi family extended far beyond the tractors themselves. The design inspired later military vehicles and demonstrated that articulated steering could provide significant advantages in difficult terrain. Concepts pioneered by Ugo Pavesi would later appear in heavy construction equipment, forestry machinery, agricultural tractors, and specialized off-road vehicles around the world. Looking back today, it's easy to see that the Pavesi was ahead of its time. Many of the principles that made it successful nearly a century ago remain relevant in modern off-road engineering. When contemporary articulated dump trucks cross rough terrain at construction sites, they are using ideas that Pavesi helped pioneer during the 1920s. Today, surviving examples of the P4, P4M, P4S, and P4-100 are among the most fascinating military vehicles preserved in museums and private collections. Their strange appearance continues to attract attention from visitors who often struggle to classify what they're seeing. Is it a tractor, an artillery tractor, a military truck? The answer is a little bit of all three. The Pavesi family represents a unique chapter in automotive and military history, a period when engineers were willing to challenge conventional thinking and experiment with radically different solutions. More than a century after the first P4 appeared, these remarkable machines still stand as proof that innovation often comes from those willing to ignore established rules and pursue entirely new ideas. And if you enjoy discovering forgotten military vehicles, unusual engineering solutions, and machines that seem decades ahead of their time, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because there are many more incredible automotive stories waiting ahead.